Hey there, how's it going? Welcome to Dominion 5. My name is Mew. This time around, I'm going to be playing a multiplayer game set in the Middle Age, and I'm going to be playing as Idbal, Gate of Molten Earth. This game is going to be a NationGen game, meaning all of the nations in the game are randomly generated. And it's also a MagicGen game, meaning that all of the spells in the game are also randomly generated. So it should be fun. This video will serve as the intro for this series, and in this video I'm just going to look at our nation, and then I'll also look at the god I made to lead this nation, and then I'll finally talk about any other settings in the game and the map and stuff. And the next video going up in this series will be turn 1 to 3. So if you just want to see gameplay, wait for that one. If you do enjoy this series, or any of the series on the channel, please consider liking the video and subscribing and all that YouTube stuff. And thanks as always to my patrons for their ongoing support, I really appreciate it. There's a link to my Patreon in the description below, if you want to check that out too. But let's get down to business. Let's look at Idbal, Gate of Molten Earth. So, I've played a couple of NationGen games on the channel before, and usually what happens is the host will generate a bunch of nations and then pull out the egregiously over or underpowered ones, and just leave a quote-unquote balanced selection behind. The first nation I looked at was a bunch of elephants, so I just picked it immediately, because it seems cool. I think this is one of the pop types that NationGen sort of creates. I don't think there are elephant people in Dominions usually. Let's see, our national features. We are a race of... oh, they're called tusked ones. Okay, I just call them elephants. Tusked ones. Some humans we prefer heat +1. Our military consists of light and heavy infantry, champions, sacred heavy rangers, and cheaper forts. We get 10% of our forts. We have fire, earth, astral, and nature magic, moderate priests, and yeah, giant forts. Although they are slightly cheaper. Minus 10% more expensive, that's pretty funny. We have one cap site. It enables the recruitment of our sacred unit, which is significant because it means all of our mages are recruit anywhere. We generate 2 fire, 2 earth, and a pearl. Pretty nice. I'll start with the units then, and then I'll go through the commanders. So, basic unit. We have some human champions. Okay, you know, short bow units. 10 morale, 10 precision. Alright, 10 gold. Can't ask for much else. And some Velites as well. These aren't too bad. They don't have any armor, but they do have a cap and a shield, and then they've got a bronze throwing hatchet, which they can throw twice. Does 15 points of slashing damage if it hits, not too bad. Pretty cheap unit, if you just want a bunch of throwing hatchets on shielded guys. Might be kinda nice. The short bow and trident isn't bad either. They only have 1 protection. And then, that's the only human units we actually have, there's not many of them. Everything else is just a tusked one. We have some great bow archers. These are very expensive though. All of the elephant units you sort of pay a premium for because they're very big and have a lot of hit points. Yeah, but if we need some great bows, I guess if we can afford the gold cost, we can get those out. Otherwise these guys are completely nude. They have 9 base protection, looks like. That's not too bad either. 16 combat speed as well. I wouldn't have thought that bipedal elephant people would be fast, but I guess they are. Nice. We have some light bashers. These guys are also nude, but they do have a little buckler. 2 attacks per round. You know, club on a tusk, not too bad. Still very expensive though. This nation's going to be very gold hungry. I took pretty good scales on our pretender to make sure that we had lots of income. There's yeah, 3 resources and 14 rec points is barely anything, but 70 gold a unit is pretty expensive. But, you know, not bad stats. Tons of hit points, great magic resistance as well, which is pretty unusual, I think, for basic units. Not bad. We have a regular basher. These guys are dual-wielding clubs and have tusks, so they have 3 attacks per round on a 15 combat speed, 52 hit point unit. These guys are going to really hurt some things. Their protection isn't bad either. They've got a cuirass with the base protection as well, so 14 prot. Yeah, these guys are going to be a nightmare. Again, aren't too bad on resources and recruitment either. It's just the gold cost for everything is going to be pretty prohibitive. All these guys swim as well, which is pretty cool. Idbalish champions. So these guys are going to be really tanky. Again, 52 hit points. Got a bronze cuirass and a hoplon as well, which is a nice shield. And then they have length 4 spears too. And I think that helps for like repelling stuff, right? If it's long, I'm not sure exactly. But either way, I mean, still, yeah, really great combat stats, tons of hit points, pretty good combat speed, long weapon, 2 attacks per round. They've got good map move as well. I mean, these are all just great units. It's just very expensive. We're going to be a very gold-hungry nation. And finally, our cap-only Sacred. These are our only cap-only units. These guys are enormously expensive, though. I'm not sure how to get lots of these out. I think the answer is that you do not get lots of these out. 155 gold a unit, and 61 resources and 37 recruitment points. These are a premium unit. They are pretty good though in terms of their stats. The issue these guys have is that they're primarily archers, so they have a great bow. Other than that, they're unarmed, so they just get a fist and a tusk attack, which is not amazing. Otherwise though, their stats are pretty good, I think. They hit really hard, 23 strength, tons of hit points. They have 21 protection because these guys have a full set of armor, bronze hauberk and a bronze cap. Extremely good magic resistance and morale as well. So you could stick a pretty scary bless on these guys and they would probably do quite a lot of damage. It's just their weapons let them down. It is noteworthy that these units do fly though. Very funny to imagine an elephant in full armor flying with a pair of feathered wings. But hey, you know, it's the minions. They also swim and they also are slightly disease resistant as well. Not sure if that will come into play too much, but maybe. So, final verdict on our unit roster. These guys are exceptionally good units. They're just extremely expensive, I think. Might have difficulty getting lots of them out. The champions in particular are very good. 23 resources apart might be a bit steep to get lots out, but I think gold is always going to be the choke anyway. Especially if you want to recruit out of lots of forts. Then we have commanders. Scouts first of all. Basic scouts. Unfortunately these are going to be very expensive scouts, 60 gold each. So ideally I would not be recruiting these, but depends how lucky we get with finding independent scout provinces, unfortunately. Otherwise, you know, they've got wasteland and mountain and forest survival, which is nice. In addition to swimming, so they can get around pretty easily. 20 map move. Pretty nice scout. I guess they are worth the price. We have basic commanders. They come with +1 for 3, which is pretty nice. 80 units. Based on our champions. We have basher versions. These guys are +1 for 3, and they also have inspirational. So +2 for 3. Fantastic leaders. We have warlords. So these are commander versions of our sacred, which might be a bit more useful because we can give them actual weapons. These guys will be pretty scary with a good bless. Elephants, as it turns out, have 3 miscellaneous slots as well. So you can do some serious thugging with this guy. Otherwise, still just comes with a tusk, a fist, and a great bow. It is interesting to me that these things are recruit anywhere, even though the unit versions aren't. Which is surprising. So we can recruit as many of these guys as we want out of all of our forts. It's only the unit versions that are limited. Otherwise though, their stats are very similar to our sacreds. They've got crowns instead of helmets. But you know, great stats. Also pretty good leaders, +1 for 3, and inspirational, so... yeah, really good commanders. 275 gold and 56 resources though. Very expensive. We have H1 and H2 priests. You may notice all of our casters are spell singers as well. So that's our priests and our mages. As the description says though, Spellsinger has no effect on divine spells. So this doesn't actually affect the priests at all. It's just a quality that the elephants all have. And then our 4 mages. Yeah, so these guys are all recruit anywhere. There's like a smaller version and a larger version. These 2 grey ones have 2 rec points each, and the brown ones have 4 rec points each. We have the Mage of Metaphysical Prophecies and the Mage of Sandy Prophecies. These guys are pretty similar. Metaphysical is fire and astral, and Sandy is fire and nature. But otherwise they get the same picks. Fire, earth, astral and nature. 100% chance and a 10% chance, so probably just going to get +1 on these guys. These guys can be fire 3, or they could come with N2, or just one of these little picks. They're also swimming and also spell singers. They also generate resources, which might be pretty good, because some of our units are going to need quite a few resources. The metaphysical version is very similar overall, just with the astral instead of the nature. Also generates resources, but they have less leadership. So these guys are 20 units, -1 for 1, whereas these guys are 50 units, 0 for 2. So other than that, you know, Very similar mages. Just depends if we want Fire 2 with Nature or Fire 2 with Astral. And then the big 4 rec point mages. Again, we have Sandy and Metaphysical. Sandy is F1, E1, N1, and Metaphysical is F1, E1, S1. With the same picks, only this time it's a joined +2 pick. So these guys could be Fire 3 or Earth 3 or Astral 3. And these guys could be Fire 3 or Earth 3 or Nature 3. Or, you know, they could just have a random point of the opposite path slapped onto them. Otherwise, though, similar to some of our other elephant units, they're all spell singers and swimmers. Spellsinger might be kind of annoying because there are a lot of self buffs in MagicGen books that have 200% cast time. And so they're already kind of difficult to use, but they're going to be extremely difficult for us to use because they're going to take even longer than that to cast. So Spellsinger is kind of a big drawback, I think, for early sort of self buff stuff. Later on might be quite nice though, especially if we do big communions of Spellsingers. You're really light on fatigue. All these mages are quite cheap as well overall. These guys are 235 every turn. These guys are 255 every 2 turns though, because they're 4 rec points. So spread out over the turns, that's going to be pretty cheap, which is, you know, good. Because our units are not cheap at all. So that we have that going for us as well. And otherwise, I think the big ones might just be really good mages, because they're very likely to come with 3 in one of their paths, which is probably going to let them do something interesting from the spellbook. I'm sure there's going to be at least one thing that's pretty spammy that's good for an N3 or an E3 or an F3 caster to cast. Overall though, I'm pretty happy with this nation. They look pretty cool. I think they're going to be very durable as a thing. I think in particular the champions are going to be very durable. But that's Idbal. That's the nation we're going to be playing. Looking forward to playing some elephants, something a bit unique. Let me know what you think of the nation in the comments below. I'll switch over now and show you the god that I decided to make. And here we are. This is your Google search history, the Great Sage. Here's the god I went with. So there were a couple of things I wanted to do with this god. First of all, I wanted a pretty nice sort of standard rainbow bless that we could put on our sacreds primarily. But if we make some shrouds, we can put this on mages too. So I just wanted to give those big elephants all the resists, well, not poison, but almost all the resists, some reinvigoration, and some magic weapons as well, because none of our mages are sacred by default. We could put shrouds on them. But cast range and penetration and stuff aren't immediately useful. But we can at least give our sacreds and our sacred commander some magic weapons at least, which might come in useful. This is a nice, pretty generic bless. It helps the troops when they're blessed, and if we get some shrouds made, it can also be pretty good on mages too. I think it helps amplify the qualities we already have, which is mostly just, you know, pretty good protection and very good hit points to begin with. So just giving them some reinvigoration and some resists helps them to survive longer, fight longer, take advantage of the fact that they're already pretty chunky. So I thought that was generally pretty good. It also gives us lots of paths to do site searching, and I'm going to take this guy awake. And the goal is going to be to immediately just start site searching as much as possible. Get big gem income from all these paths that we can search for. And then once we've searched, you know, most of the provinces in our territory and got some gem income going, this guy can head home and sit in our cap with our mages and start helping them research. So this is very much focused on just getting a good start through the early game. General bless, good site searching, helps boost research early on, take him awake. And to pay for that, this guy is Dominion 2, which is pretty weak. I've never done a god that's this low before, but we'll see if that really matters too much. There were some magic paths I particularly wanted, so I wanted Astral 4 because I've looked at the spellbook that's been generated, and we actually have a national spell that requires S4, and it summons othernesses for you, which seems pretty cool. I've never got to play with othernesses or any stuff like that before, because I've never been But so yeah, we have a national version. I think it's 12 pearls, summons 6 of them, which isn't bad. It would be really nice if we could find a bunch of astral sites early on with this guy, start generating a nice pearl income, and then just start summoning othernesses every turn. I think in general it might be a little bit rough early on getting units out because of how expensive all of our units are. So having a nice summon that we can spam that gives high quality units I think would be pretty good. This is also why I slapped N2 on him as well, because there's a global enchantment that requires S4 N2. So that's why he has those particular paths. And the global enchantment is a free spawn enchantment. So it's a global that's just going to free spawn units out of all of our labs. That might also be pretty good. So they're going to be 2 early goals, is to do lots of site searching with this guy, find some pearls hopefully, and then get up that global to get some free spawn going and some otherness summoning going. I think having some cheap units coming in from a global will really help our nation out, because we have lots of really good, expensive, high quality chunky troops, but it would be nice to have something that's a bit more expendable that we can deploy a bit more liberally without worrying that we're going to, lose a single 70 gold unit every time we go to war. So that's why in particular I wanted Astral Fort N2. I'll look at spells a bit more as they come up in-game. Obviously, since the entire spellbook is randomly generated, it's an awful lot of stuff to get through. So I won't overload you and I won't go through everything immediately, but as we get close to spells that are useful, I'll show them off, and I'll also do separate videos on all of the different paths, if you really want to check all that out before we get to it. But there's the magic we've got. Nice pretender, gives us a research boost. The scales, yeah, the big focus was good income, because our units are very expensive. Put growth up to 3, we might have quite a few high pop provinces since it's middle age, so growth might be pretty good overall anyway. Some productivity. Our mages do generate resources, well, the smaller mages generate resources, but they only generate 15 each, so you need quite a few mages before it starts to really make a big impact on the amount of units we recruit. But even so, order 1, productivity 1, growth 3. Our dominion's very low, which sort of counterintuitively means it spreads really quickly. I'm not sure exactly how dominion stuff works, but yeah, if you're only dominion 2, it's going to spread through all your provinces really fast. So our dominion should, our scales should spread into our provinces pretty quickly, which would be quite nice. We like heat 1, it's up to heat 3 to pay for things. But in general, yeah, we should have really, really good income scales, especially over time, since growth is going to be growing our provinces. This game, I think, is running the scales changes from the J. Brereton balance mod, and a couple of other minor changes as well. It's not running the whole balance mod, though. It's just running a few little things. So, in particular, Drone 2 is only -1 research, so that's not too bad to pay for things, especially since my pretender is going to be giving everybody +1 research anyway, so it sort of offsets things once he retires to the capital to help out our nation's studies. But yeah, the big focus for the scales was just getting our income to be pretty good, especially over time. And I didn't want to reduce our luck at all, because we've got some really nice national heroes. They have like, there's one national hero that's got Fire 4, Earth 4, plus a bunch of other paths as well. So I didn't want to have to deal with negative events, because if we lose provinces to Indies, it's just going to be, a ton of lower income, which I don't want to deal with. Yeah, I just didn't want to deal with any misfortune at all. So, dump some drain. You'll be fine though. One thing that is slightly limiting is that I don't think we had many pretenders we could actually choose from. We just had like a small selection of like default pretenders. I don't think we got any kind of regional picks or anything. We just had like the usual size ones, some dragons, oracle, sort of the very, very basic stuff to choose from. I think this is fine though. This is kind of all I really wanted. Should be fun. And I'm looking forward to it. MagicGen in particular, I always really enjoy. It's really goofy. And there's been quite a few updates to MagicGen since the last time I played a MagicGen game on the channel. So I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of wacky spells in here that's using new tech we have never seen before. As far as other settings and stuff in this game go, I don't think there's anything unusual enabled. There might be a few minor changes from JBBM. I think like cavalry change costs and stuff like that, but just like little tiny things that don't really make much difference. Snow.dm is not enabled, I don't believe. The game is being played on a MapNuke map, so I'll put a link to MapNuke in the description below. Other than that though, I think that about covers it. So thanks as always for watching. Leave a comment below consisting solely of the elephant emoji, and I'll see you in game.